5, 4, 3, 2. Hello and welcome to the Atomik Adam channel. I am Atomik Adam. Welcome to this Friday's Atomic Diaries. And in this segment of the channel, I really wanted to just freeform a little bit, let my voice crack along on the side of the microphone while I'm feasting on grapes and coffee on a fine Friday evening where I've just done all my work for today. I've jorked my shit. I've played a couple of CSGO rounds, and now I'm just trying to wind down. Later, I'm gonna visit the gym, try to do some cardio, keep up with the summer spirit. This is July the 3rd, and this is Atomic Diaries number 1. I was thinking about potential topics that I could speak about, but everything that I wanted to speak about was already based on somebody else's opinion. And one of those people is, I think it's Quinn the GM, and you can see that the first video was recommended from him. And this is a channel that mainly focuses on fantasy novel type lore videos. Also speculation videos on particularly, this is the most relevant topic for the channel. It's the Song of Ice and Fire universe. For those of you who have no idea what that is the Game of Thrones universe, but the books. And I got really annoyed by this guy yesterday because he was basically apologizing for George Martin basically not releasing The Winds of Winter for almost 15 years. Now, you heard me correct. 15 years, if not more. This fat gentleman has refused to release anything that has made him the most of his money. And Quinn, or whoever that video was from, and I will play a snippet from it now.
About is, where is it? Marines over here. Oh, it's even further. So here, this is a great map just to show you the sheer scale of Essos compared to Westeros. Ashai is all the way down here, and I'm wondering if we're ever going to get some sort of perspective here. It would just be funny if we did. But honestly, the biggest reason The Winds of Winter is taking so long, other than the fact that George R. R. Martin clearly just has some priority issues, I guess would be a safe way to say it, is the fact that this story has become so expansive and so bloated beyond belief that I truly don't know if there's a way to wrap this up in a cohesive manner. And I know that's just driving him crazy.
Basically apologizes for George R. R. Martin because he has written himself, and keep in mind, this is very, when I say he apologizes for Martin, he is actually being very critical of him, but still apologizing for him not releasing a book for almost 15 years now. 15 years, dude. And from my personal experience, this is what I'm going to say. I'm writing a book myself right now. Coincidentally, yes, I am actually trying to write a book. I'm going through the editing process. I'm going through the scripting, storyline, story beats, etc., character models, world map, etc., etc., etc. And writing a chapter doesn't take a year, dude. I'm sorry. Writing a chapter doesn't take a year. And even if it does, don't you think that you kind of owe it to your fans, 5 books in, 6 books, whatever books it is right now, to kind of give them something finally? But anyway, I'm not gonna talk about this because it's my journey with Game of Thrones and George R. R. Martin as a writer and a particularly the show, because I'm a very visual person, and I caught the show between seasons 3 and 4, so really at the peak of what it was. I've listened to the books on audio, and I kind of know the story. Considering what a letdown the show was after season 4, I think it's high time that the fan base got something. And if you don't believe in God, I would definitely give it a try and say a prayer to the Lord that Martin might get off his fat fucking ass. 15 years, by the way, he's taken with this book, and just release what he has. Even if it's Winds of Winter Part 1. Even if it's Winds of Winter Part 3. This is what happens when the liberal mindset is faced with enormous expectation. It crumbles under the weight of everything and nothing at the same time. If you do not release a book for 15 years that you know that people are waiting for, you're a coward. That means that you're not really, you don't really believe in the ideas that you're writing about. And there's some other stuff with his quote-unquote gardening style of writing, where he places a seed somewhere and then sees how it grows later on in the story. But it seems that the gardener has lost himself in the garden. The garden has become a maze. And cue this clip right now. This is a clip of a fan asking George R. R. Martin how he feels about him dying before finishing A Song of Ice and Fire. Kudos to the fan. A lot of the fan base was appalled at this teenager trying to ruin this poor old writer's day by asking him the question that everyone's been kind of thinking strategically and long term. I mean, yeah, it's more probable that he is gonna kick the bucket than finish the books. I mean, it's safe to say at this point, and I think that many people have been disappointed substantially enough that the consideration of this is not out of realism. It's not out of the bounds of reality. I think that's a thing that he and we also collectively need to acknowledge, that this hippie might not finish his great work. That's fine. It is what it is. I mean, I think it's better at this point, considering all the. It's some things are better left unsaid or unread in this case. But it is what it is. Moving on. Speaking about George R. R. Martin and his beautiful world that he has created. To build on what I have said previously about actually catching the show and being really immersed in Game of Thrones when just before season 4 was released. What was that, 2013, 2014, 2015, 16, whatever. It was around that time, and I feel such a connection to this franchise because it gave me so many ideas about a fantasy world that I could create, a fantasy world where I could make the rules, where I could build the characters, where I could make the storylines, where I could introduce the monsters, the villains, the princess and the princesses. Where I could introduce the political intrigue, where I could introduce the magic system, where I could introduce the dragons and the emperors and the high king of the Midland Kingdom or whatever. And it was just such a magical, fantasy-filled time where I remember it with such like childish reverence for a sacred memory, and to see what those two show producers and directors made of what could have been a legendary run of a show, really. Like, if you read the books, if you get introduced to the characters that George Martin has written in, I mean, just the Dance with Dragons with Euron Greyjoy, what has been introduced there is just, in my opinion, can be peak cinema. Literally peak cinema. And they made a goofy, horny pirate that doesn't even look like the guy in the books. To see that all of that potential squandered, literally thrown to the dogs, was such a letdown. It was such a soul-crushing experience to watch something that you love rot into nothingness. It was surreal, but it was. I think even at that time I was not surprised. This is just slop. It was the equivalent of slop, even though we didn't have the word for it yet. This has also given me an opportunity to, well, looking back at it, when I first saw the show, I was creating my own world, and then this was like the sorry for the pun, but acceleration of the method, where I actually made a world map, and I'm recreating all those stuff because I threw all that shit away. Because at that time, when I was really, really, really into it, I had to make a choice between, okay, now I'm going to be a fantasy writer, director, whatever, or I'm actually going to go into finance and accounting and I'm going to try to have a career there. Now I'm coming back to the fantasy stuff. Almost 10 years later, dude. And it really is just amazing. Even though I'm in my own world, I am not deviating from the classics. We have elves, we have dwarves, we have orcs, we have humans, we have dragons, we have everything that you might want, and then some. And now it's just like, I want to say even better, but it's different as well. Now technology is different, and I can kind of formalize and visualize my ideas better because there's just more stuff on the internet that you can see, look, experiment with, etc. But there's also better, like, I in myself see a better verbal vocabulary, a better writing style than I used to have, a better story beat, escalation and de-escalation, and just story arc in general. Story arc building, I guess, would be the correct word. And it's such a... It really is like going back and experiencing childhood memories with new eyes. And it's kind of like, at the same time, it's familiar, but it's also different because I'm noticing details that I didn't used to notice in the past. So building a fantasy world has been definitely something that, like, honestly, truthfully, the deepest